This is Allen Mashburn, Carolina Conservatives, Preachers with a Punch. We are on location in White Lake, North Carolina. Incidentally, we are at the Lake Church, and you may recognize the man beside me, Attorney General. He has many titles, but Attorney General of the United States, former Attorney General, but served during a very difficult time in our nation's history after 9/11, Attorney General John Ashcroft. And he is here at Lake Church for a couple of days doing some speaking engagements. And I've had a wonderful time just speaking with him. Attorney General, what's the greatest thing that's ever happened in your life? And you've had a lot of milestones.
Well, for me to come to an understanding that Jesus gave his life for me and to set me free. If the Son therefore shall set you free, you shall be free indeed, the scripture says. And for me to understand that Jesus is a picture of the Creator. He wants us to, says, if you've seen me, you've seen the Father. And the Father's full of love, grace, truth, mercy, integrity. These are the values that I think inform the right kind of service in the public arena. And unfortunately, there's so much antagonism toward Christians these days that you'd think that people are rejecting these values, but they're the very values that ought to inhabit public service.
One thing I just heard you say, that religion should inspire. Religion should inspire. It's not forced, obviously, and I'm not putting words in your mouth, but that stood out to me. I think you have been to Washington, you've been to Missouri, the State House, the State Capitol, you've been to the Governor's Mansion, all of your roles, and I think many would say that the role never changed the man. And I think that's one of the most honorable things that I could ever say about you as a public servant, that you brought your best to the table. And I think Cameron said it best. Nobody really knows how many lives have been saved by men such as yourself who were at the helm of our government, specifically the Justice Department, during the days after 9/11. You've had many, many roles in your life. What was your favorite?
Oh, I think in terms of favorite responsibilities, there are two that really were captivating for me. The Attorney Generalship of the United States, because of the scale of the responsibility. And you know, when you have a worldwide responsibility, you had offices in about 60 or 70 countries around the world, and we had, of course, 130,000 employees when I went to the department. But being governor is a very, very interesting thing, because I think a state is almost as large a constituency as you could get your arms around. You can know somebody in every county. And if you're a state official and you call someone up and say, we really need help, would you help us do this in behalf of the citizens of our state? There's a significant likelihood that people are going to respond and work together. Mm-hmm. If you can project ideas that are going to elevate what happens in the state and the benefit the state. I do believe that religion is not something to be imposed, it's something to be inspired. And when people would say to you, well, you're just in office because you want to impose your religion on people, I would tell them very clearly that it's against my religion to impose my religion, and that I think it's a clear opportunity of every person to expose his religion, but it's not legitimate for any person to impose himself, mainly because God didn't impose himself on people.
Right.
He offers us the opportunity to embrace a set of values of forgiveness and healing, decency, respect, integrity, these values which elevate humanity, those are the values that sort of give credence to the idea that God shaped us. If we were shaped by and created by God, godly values ought to somehow fit within us when we welcome them. And I think they're welcome when they're inspired, but they are not welcome when they're imposed.
Exactly. Wholeheartedly agree. You've known several presidents, no doubt. And now I can say that the same thing Cameron says. I have a friend of Ronald Reagan. If I called Ronald Reagan's name, what's some of the words that come to mind that describe him in a favorable? I can't imagine anyone not describing him in a favorable light.
Well, there was a kind of humility that he had. He never lost his sort of understanding of the features he had with the rest of the population, and his kindness. One of the things that really stunned me about the Reagan presidency is how he became friends with people who had previously been enemies. I mean, Tip O'Neill was as formidable, a hard-knuckled politician, a Massachusetts Democrats running the House of Representatives, and within 60 or 90 days after Reagan becomes president, they're working together. They are friends. I think Tip had an ability to see in Ronald Reagan this humble, genuine, good-intentioned person of integrity and moral aspiration, wanting to do the right thing. And that struck a chord. And rather than prove that you can work with your enemies, which is a virtue, there's another thing you can prove, and that is that we don't have to be enemies, and we can work together, and that's even greater virtue.
Because we're all Americans.
Yeah.
Last question. There are many running for office, and you have run many races. What would be the advice that you would give a fellow believer in this day running for office?
Well, ask God for help. That's the first thing we should do about any. Real leadership is the selection of noble goals. Any road will get you there if you don't care where you're going. So select noble goals and then pursue those goals with such intensity that your own willingness to pursue those goals is a magnet that draws other people into the process. Con men are willing to achieve a goal up to the last drop of someone else's blood. Real leadership, the currency of it is sacrifice, and when you show in your own setting that your goals are the things that transcend even your personal interests, that's when people begin to sign on to the enterprise.
I would love to ask him more questions, but he has been taking questions quite a bit, and we honor his time. But you've heard it from a man who's actually been to Washington, been to state capitals, been to the Justice Department, and walked away. The same example as when he went. It can be done in politics, in serving your country. It can be done. Go and serve. Don't go and look for a handout. Don't go and make money off the public purse, but go and serve. And Attorney General Ashcroft has done that. Thank you, gentlemen.